Your source for everything paranormal. Para X. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Merry meet and merry part, bright the cheeks and warm the heart. For tread the circle thrice about, to keep unwelcome spirits out. Abide within the law you must, in perfect love and perfect trust. Mind the threefold laws you should, 3 times bad and 3 times good. These 8 words the read fulfill, and ye harm none, do what ye will.
Welcome to Stirring the Cauldron. Now, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
Merry meet, everybody, and welcome to Stirring the Cauldron. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Big Book of Candle Magic with Jacki Smith. Now, Jacki's been a crafter of magical products since 1992 and initiated witch since 1998. And the current trend in magical candles can be traced part to the groundbreaking products that she's developed over the last 15 years or so through her company, Coventry Creations, which makes magically charged candles that are sold all around the world. Jacki's blessed herbal candles are a staple throughout many spiritual communities and are quickly becoming commonplace in mainstream America. Now, those of you already in the chat room, feel free to ask questions during the show. And if you're listening live and want to ask questions and are not in the chat room, join us at paraxradionetwork.com. And just to note that if you're listening to the podcast, I've posted a list of upcoming guests for the next month or so on the Stirring the Cauldron page of my website, which is marlabrooks.com. So you can go in, have a peek, see who's coming up in advance, and maybe it's somebody you might want to be in the chat room for. All right, then. As with most good books, there's never enough time to talk and ask all the questions, and we're going to get started now and see how many we can squeeze in. So, Jacki, welcome.
Hi, Marla. What a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. And you are the very first interview I have on the Big Book of Candle Magic. You're my inaugural podcast.
Wow, that's an honor, and I hope it makes it good for the rest of it too.
It is an honor to be on your show again. It is an honor to be asked. I love that I'm here.
I'm glad, because I love that you're here too. Now, let me just say that at the beginning of the book, you mentioned that you've been making magical candles at Coventry for many years, and over the years, you and Patty Shaw have learned like a lifetime of candle magic. So what's the backstory of Coventry Creations?
I started Coventry in 92 on my kitchen stove. I was making holiday gifts for my loved ones, some people who had really supported me while I was kind of at my lowest. I didn't have much money. So I was making candles and a few other crafts. I'm a very crafty witch. And candles were one of them. And I kind of made some really god-awful ones. Because I just do. That's kind of how I am. I just make some stuff and I don't ask permission. I just go about my business and do some fun stuff. And I had not thought that I was doing anything different or anything super unique. I just did it. I just made some candles and put some herbs in it. I love candles. I love candle magic. It's something I always loved. 7-day candles and chime candles and all of these things. It was a part of my daily magical practice. So I had tried in the beginning putting herbs in 7-day candles that I was remaking. I would melt 7-day candles and then put herbs in them and then harden them up. And I made some amazing like candle bombs as the herbs caught on fire and things like that. And then I came across a candle making store, and they gave me some hints on how to make candles and molds, and I just started making them. I had some PVC pipe in my basement, and I wanted to be able to make 2 dozen candles. So I wanted them to be able to fit in all of the 7-day glass that I had at home. And so I made them about that size. And so it's just kind of, that's how it came to be. That's how the Blessed Herbal candle got its size, is it's because I had PVC pipe in my basement. And
doesn't everybody?
Right? Why not?
Yeah.
And so we cut it that size, and the PVC pipe is the worst thing to make into a candle mold because it just doesn't let the candle go. But I used that for years, for like 10 plus years, and we created different things to push the candle out of the PVC mold. I just was a gal who invented things, and I didn't realize that this was something so unique for everyone to make a pre-blessed infused candle. And I just made them, and we made them magical and made them during different phases of the moon, and it was just such a magical experience when we first started going about making all these candles, making the recipes and doing my research. Before I started making candles, I was studying to be an herbalist, doing a correspondence course. This was so long ago, the internet was not invented. And I was studying to be an herbalist, and I realized I didn't want to do that. I did not want to be that kind of healer. And I felt that the correspondence course, I was not preparing me to actually treat people's medical conditions, that this was not a good idea. But I just loved reading about the herbs. And when you read about their medicinal properties, you get a really amazing insight in additional magical properties. Right. Like everything that was really great for cleansing the blood, for some reason, was great for exorcism. Go figure. So it was just this amazing journey. I had, again, before the internet, but before I had a computer, I had this card catalog system where I had this cross-reference cards and for all of my herbs. I wish I still had it. I think I had gotten rid of it at one point when I started using my handy-dandy computer, and who needed all these cards? But now I wish I had it, because it would be like a piece of my own history. But I am not a hoarder of things. I just like, it's in my way, get rid of it. Yeah. But that's the backstory. Is it was just a journey of mine to learn more magic and make tools for people to help them resolve their problems. I'm a problem solver at heart. And I
certainly did.
I didn't know that I was doing something so utterly unique out into the world, and I just took them store to store. And I just said, hey, I made these candles. It was kind of adorable. I was 24 years old, and I just went store to store and went, I made these candles, and I made these labels, and I put the labels on the candles with a rubber band, and I said, and I went to Seattle to look for a job, and instead I sold a whole bunch of candles. And when I got back from Seattle, we had like 3 or 4 messages on our answering machine, because I put my phone number on the label. Who knew you weren't supposed to do that, but I did anyway. And people called me and said, hey, I saw your candles in Seattle. I'd like to bring them into my store. And it just went crazy from there. We doubled in business every month, every quarter, every year for the first couple of years. And boy, did I not know what I was doing.
Somebody was on your shoulders teaching you along the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as being a very young entrepreneur who really felt that they could do no wrong, I did a lot that was really not amazing. But the thing is, I kept my integrity with the products. The products may not have been the most amazing quality, but their integrity was there. And so what I did, and I still maintain, is we created thought forms and energy constructs that are still today. The main Blessed Herbal candles they're still the same recipes, and they're still the same energy constructs of them that we tap into all the time. I don't make all the candles myself anymore. That would be an impossibility. But we have our sacred space that we maintain in our building, and we maintain our we clear it every now and again, and we work with the spirits that work with us.
Yeah, that's the best way to go. Now, we were talking earlier that this is a really big book, 309 pages. So we've got, again, a lot of ground to cover. And I know the book is going to be available really, really soon. So when is the release date, and where can people pre-order, maybe, if they want to now?
It's launching July 1st, and of course Amazon has it as in a Kindle version and a paper version. I just found out it's already shipping in paper version through Barnes and Noble and Amazon. And I'm doing a really fun event with my retail stores on Monday, and getting copies to them. So I'm doing an event with them, and all the retailers who carry it, they will have signed copies. So we're doing an event with them where they will have signed copies. And then so right around July 1st, we'll have a big blast out for a Shop Local program.
Wow, that sounds good. That's so exciting. In my mind, candle magic might be one of the most popular and practiced forms of magic. Why do you think it's the go-to method for many, many of us?
I love the visual experience of candles. Not only do you have the flame, which is a great meditative thing, I just get lost in the flickering flame of the candle. It just pulls me in spiritually. It's that great representation of spirit. If you think about the iconic images of divine beings, that the flick of divine energy is shown as a flame above the head. And so that it's ingrained in us that is a symbol of divinity. And so as it flickers and it's just this great visual that I flow into in meditation for myself. It also has another visual that you get is heaven and earth coming together. As the candle burns down, it's an alchemical process. The wax evaporates, it gets burnt off, and it doesn't evaporate, it gets burnt off, it gets wicked up into the wick, and it fuels the flame. And so heaven and earth start to come together. So you can see your magic kind of come to be as the flame gets consumed, as the candle gets consumed into the flame. And I just love that visual. It's very... even in our most modern times, it is still a very ancient thing. It doesn't really change much. You can have different types of wax. You'll go from tallow to beeswax to paraffin and to now different vegetable waxes, but it still works the same way. So you're transported through time.
Is there a written history of candle magic?
There's some. It's scattered about. In Coventry Magic, I have a little bit of my first book, Coventry Magic. It has a little bit of candle history in there that talks about where candles come from. But there's not a huge treatise on the history of candles. I've tried to put some things together. It's scattered about.
Yeah, you probably saw the same thing I did when they were talking about magic with candles, using, way back when, birthday candles, because you blow out and make a wish. And so they figured that's a little bit magical. But I was looking a little bit, too, and I couldn't find much except, it goes back to ancient times.
Well, it's interesting is there's a practicality. So as far as candle magic, a history of candle magic, not just use of candles, but candle magic, that kind of goes back to it really got a big start in during the kind of like that magical merchants when 7-day candles came to be, when candles were not just used to light your home. But yet at the same time, when candles were used for everyday purpose, there was always candle magic within there. So you your intention or wish within what you're doing in your everyday home, putting a pin in your candle when you're making your wish, or something like that, or to tell time. Things like that have always been around. But becoming something that we do outside of our everyday life, that really came about as a major thing in when I think it was, I talk about that when I talk about 7-day candles in the Big Book of Candle Magic. When which company was it that really made 7-day candles popular? And all of a sudden I can't think of their name.
Yeah.
But it was wow, it just left my head completely. But they really again, it's just not in my head anymore. But they're I think they're in California. Anyway, they made the 7 days very popular, and they would screen print on the 7-day candles, etc. And so that's when people really got into that, the whole use of them in that way, and then got creative with more and more things.
Yeah, I mean, you go into a candle shop now, especially in a cult store, and I mean, there's candles every kind, people standing on their heads, or animal candles and all that. So yeah, it's really a big business. There's a chat room question. Sherry wants to know if you make non-candle shaped candle wax objects like pentagrams or charm necklaces.
I do not at this time. That's not something I do. I focus on pillar candles and votive candles. I would love to do other things, and that's a whole different ball of wax, as it were, different types of speciality, different types of wax and molds.
Yeah, we have a candle place out here, and I mean, you walk in there, and I swear there are thousands of different kinds and shapes and whatever, and it's just amazing what people can do. I don't like going in there because I get lost and I spend money, and it's not a good thing. Now I want to say that this book is so different than other books on the subject, that pretty much talk about candle magic in the sense of candle colors, candles for specific purposes, and stuff. But from the very beginning, your book is so insightful. I mean, not only about candle magic and spell casting, but magic in general. And one of the chapters in the book talks about taking a new perspective on magic. Can we talk a little bit about that? Because some of us might be either stuck in our ways or think that the ancient ways are best and don't want to open our minds. I don't know. What do you think?
I love that. Some of my favorite stuff is so if we have a need that we want to do a spell around, that means we have something that needs to be healed. And so the things that are on the surface are usually the outcropping of it, or the symptoms versus the true deeper need. So if we can take a new perspective on what's really going on and look deeper into that energy, kind of use the energy that's surrounding us to go deeper into what the true need is, we can do magic that creates a more permanent change, or a healthier change, rather than more of a Band-Aid change. Mm-hmm. So if you take that different perspective, you can say, I have a need for more money in my life. Well, the new perspective is, why do you need more money in your life? What's going on that creates this need? What's happening that you constantly need more money? So sometimes it could be a variety of things. It could be, well, because you're living beyond your means. I mean, that's an easy one. But it could also be that you have a different goal, or you have. My favorite thing is when I worked with this one gal. Her true need was so far away from the symptom. Is her true need is that she needed a better support system and more self-esteem, and she needed to heal mother issues in her life because of what was going on. I mean, see how that far away that was. But she just thought she needed more money in her life so she could, and it was why, is because she needed a different daycare. Why? Because she had to get her daughter away from her mother. Why? Because her mother was bad mouthing. It was on and on and on. Mm-hmm. So that the different perspective, if you can just take a new perspective on what's happening and ask yourself these deeper questions, then you can do deeper healing. And because magic is healing. Mm-hmm. Everything we do is an opportunity to heal, like the dysfunction that caused you to want to bring magic in your life. I mean, even just the other day, as we're getting ready for this book launch, and there's a lot of things to do and a lot of details and that I need to take care of on top of my regular everyday world. So everything was piling upon myself and piling upon it. And I was becoming a little bit of a wreck, a bit of a wreck. And quite miserable, to be honest with you. And like, what's going on? And I hate everything and I'm miserable. And why am I doing this? I just want to quit. I want to flip the table and walk away from it all and just crying, like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I said, hang on a minute. I know what to do here. And I did the whole thing is I opened up my own book. I know. I talk to myself. Past Jackie talked to future Jackie. Uh-huh. And started asking those questions to uncover my deeper magical need. Mm-hmm. And I just started asking those questions going, I'm not terminally unique in this situation. I'm not alone. I'm not the only person experiencing this. So let me ask these deeper questions. And I got to the place where I'm like, oh, I forgot why I'm doing this. I forgot that I'm actually very blessed and I'm living a good life. And I forgot to be happy. Mm-hmm. And so I pulled all my tools out and I literally did my magic around it. And my deeper need was not because people were making me mad or things weren't turning out the way it was. I got back to my big magic. I got into like the Magic 5, which I talk about in the book a lot. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, I need to heal. I needed to heal and clear and heal something. Mm-hmm.
And you're having a dose of your own medicine, and that's good because it brought you back into, okay, everything's okay.
Everything's really okay.
Yeah. Got another chat room question from Tabby. She said, does it make a difference if the candle is a solid color or only the outer skin when you're using it for spells or divination?
Oh, wow. No, I don't think so. I really don't. I think we get stuck in some of the finer details on some of these things that mm-hmm. the color that you're working with or the tool that you're working with or that you have at hand is probably the perfect thing for you in the moment. And don't belabor the small pieces of it. The color is there for you, whether it's on the outside or the inside. So if you're doing a divination and you want the blue candle for divination, let's say it resonates with you, and it's only blue on the outside. Well, then you can, again, let's take a new perspective on this. The blue is on the outside and it's melting away, right? What's on the inside? But isn't that divination? Looking at what's on the inside. So allow yourself to let go of what everyone has told you it has to be. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want to get everyone to understand. If there's one thing I would love a takeaway to be from this book is let go of what everyone has told you it's supposed to be mm-hmm. and decide for yourself what it is in the moment. Because that blue candle that's blue on the outside and white on the inside is going to mean something today when you use it. And tomorrow, it might mean something else. Mm-hmm. And really it's okay.
Yeah.
I've used green for prosperity. I've used gold for prosperity. I used pink for prosperity the other day. I have a pink candle burning for prosperity right now. Wow. And you know why? Is because I forgot to be happy. Oh. I forgot to be enchanted by what I was doing. And so I'm re-enchanting myself.
Wow. See, this is why I really like the book because, I think the entire book opened my eyes in very many ways to obvious things that I and probably a lot of others have overlooked. When I read the phrase magic at its core is healing. I kind of knew that, but you kind of just don't think about it. But the candles are alchemy, and the 5 elements of the universe really got my attention.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to slap myself for not even giving that any thought ever. And I'm probably not alone in that, but I was really annoyed with myself. But then I got to thinking that maybe one of the reasons we don't go beyond a superficial level could very well mean that perhaps there wasn't a book like yours at the time when we were all, growing and learning,
Mm-hmm.
that we could draw this kind of information from.
It's okay. It's okay. We do the best with the information that we have, and when we learn something different, we do things differently, and that's how maturity works.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the growth process works.
Yeah.
And we do the best with what we can, and like the how the elements work with candles. I was watching the candle burn one day, and I was just going, "Oh, look at the fire and the water and the air."
Mm-hmm.
And the earth that it is. And I was in the middle of it just became this deep meditation, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. And I just got because I was doing a ritual and I couldn't find the elements I wanted to do for the ritual, and then I went, oh, look, it's all here in this one candle. And I got to relax because I'm a Virgo, and I have 6 planets in Virgo, and so I wanted it to be all perfect. And then I started learning to relax about how things have to be so perfect, because it becomes perfect in the moment. And my big epiphany not more than a couple years ago, 10 years ago, right after I wrote Coventry Magic, was the Magic 5. And when I was working on marketing some products, and I was working on these products that were sitting on my shelves, not moving. And so I was working on ways to sell these products. Like, how can I help stores sell the products that are sitting on their shelves and give them more than one reason to buy this candle? And so I started making the reasons to buy this candle. And it was like, how could you use this candle for prosperity? How could you use this candle for love? How could you use this candle for healing, for protection, and for clearing? And I had other answers too, but I didn't have a lot of room on my marketing thing. So I just got it down to those basics. And then I just kept writing all my marketing around that. And then I went, oh, there's a reason why it's these, because everything fit into it. It was a couple of years, and I kept proving that over and over. And I thought, wow, this is really true. Everything fits into these 5 things. These 5 magical branches is what I call them. So whatever spell we do, it really has to do with one of these 5 things. It has to do with some kind of material need that you're doing that's prosperity. It has to do with some kind of protection or safety or security. It has to do with a relationship that you have. It's love, a communication, something like that is love. It's something that you're healing, or it's something that you're clearing. And everything else falls into that. Even like, oh, you want to develop a relationship with your ancestors. Well, that's a relationship, right? Mm-hmm. Or you want to get a little more psychic. Well, are you healing your psychic centers, or are you clearing your psychic centers? Or maybe you want to get more psychic because you want to, make money at it. So it all starts to fall into these things. And I spent a lot of years proving that over and over again. And even I created an oracle for my stores to help them help their customers figure out what candle they need. And it worked over and over and over again. And I kept proving this. So I wanted to talk about the Magic 5 in the Big Book of Candle Magic. And as I'm writing it, I'm like, oh, I know why this works, is because this goes back to the philosophy of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And Maslow is a psychologist who talks about how we have a hierarchy of needs that we have to meet before we can find self-actualization or spiritual enlightenment, as it were. That we have to like eat. That's that physiological or prosperity need. We have to find shelter and security, and that's that protection need. We need companionship, and that's that love need. We need to find self-esteem, and that's the healing and the clearing before we can hit self-actualization, which is spiritual enlightenment. And as I'm looking at this going, wow, I've been working on this my entire life.
And didn't even know it.
Wow, who knew? So it just made a lot of sense that, and I've always talked about, you have a deeper need, and then that's what Maslow talks about all the time, is that when you have a deficiency, is what he calls it, in any one of those things, it hits in all of the things, and that you have to heal that deficiency before you can elevate into a greater thing. And it's just so true. And so when you dig into, like, where's my need? Where is my need? And it helps you understand what spell you need. Yeah. Because I oftentimes, when I'm in my store and customers come in and they say, I need this, I need a candle for this, I need a candle for that, and I'll help them build the spell. It's like, but what do you really need to accomplish? So many times, people want a reading about love, but they want to do magic around money. I notice that. So when people come in and they want to get the person back in their life, and I'm like, do you really want to get that person back in your life? If you have to work this hard to get this person back into your life, is that who you really want? And so we talk about what do they really need in their life, and they're usually walking away with a totally different spell for themselves to help heal the thing. Mm-hmm.
And your book is absolutely the right place that people need to get some answers, because it does, like I said, open your mind and gets you thinking and teaching a lot. And it's not, it's a really good book full of stuff, but it's not like a boring textbook at all. I mean, you have exercises in there, you have lots of indexes, symbols, crystals, stones, magic herbs, index, all that stuff. And you also have a lot of tips from your Aunt Jacki. And we're going to take a break right now, but when we come back, we will talk about Aunt Jacki. Stay tuned, everybody.
Stirring the Cauldron will be right back, so don't go away. If you end up with webbed feet, remember, you've been warned.
Demons, vampires, werewolves, skinwalkers, all of this and more, Sunday nights at midnight on the Staring Into the Abyss radio show. Come, get lost with us.
It's that time of year again, me pagan and witchy folks. The time for Witches Fest USA, a pagan fair where we all gather dressed as all the magical folks we love, like fays, elves, sprites, and more, with magical vendors, enchanting performers, and magical presenters of all kinds, paths, and traditions. After the opening ceremony on July the 14th, the fair runs from July 15th to the 17th, and on Saturday, July 16th, you can come in person and spend the day on Astor Place in New York City and enjoy free workshops, vendors, presenters, a DJ, and live performances. Friday and Sunday will be live streaming online on the world stage for all to participate. There are over 95 occult workshops to choose from in real time or view them on demand at your convenience. For information and registration, go to www.witchesfestusa.org. That's www.witchesfestusa.org. Get caught up in the magic and enjoy.
Welcome back to Stirring the Cauldron. Once again, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
And my guest tonight is Jacki Smith, and we're talking about her very soon-to-be-released book, The Big Book of Candle Magic. And before we went to break, we were just talking about tips from your Aunt Jacki. You want to go into that a little bit further? I loved them.
The moniker of Aunt Jacki started as kind of as a silly thing decades ago. We were goofing around, and whenever we did something stupid, whenever I would do something stupid, I would say, take a tip from your Aunt Jacki and don't blah, 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 blah. And, don't brush your teeth and drink orange juice, things like that. And so when I wrote Coventry Magic, I wanted to put like little sidebars in here because that is my life. I so often break into conversations and give a little sidebar. and so it was fun to put that in Coventry Magic, and I just continued that on with the Big Book of Candle Magic because it's so often there's something that doesn't fit in the paragraph or fit in the little section, and you just have a little side comment like, a little confession from your Aunt Jacki about how I'm a sci-fi nerd. And so many of my spells reflect how much of a sci-fi nerd I am. Or
admission is good. It's cathartic.
Absolutely. So just different musings and different tips and craft projects, just different fun little things that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
I liked it. I've got another chat room question. Is it best to use natural herbs and flowers within the candle as opposed to the commercial scents in a bottle?
So that is something that I am a little controversial on. Sure, absolutely. If you can get the natural stuff, go for it. And sometimes it's not available or practical for you. If you're making your own candles and you want to put essential oils in there, it takes a lot of essential oils to get it to smell like a fragrance oil would. And so what I do in my fragrance oils is that we charge them up. We invite in the energy of the essentials. So if we have a lavender fragrance oil, we invite in the essence of lavender, the energy of lavender to come in and become part of that fragrance oil. Now, it doesn't change the chemical composition of it, but it changes the energy of it, and it becomes very powerful. And we test it, and do this experiment with yourself just for funsies. Take a fragrance oil that has kind of a chemical match or a chemical makeup that would match that essential oil, and invite in the divas of the essential oil you're looking for. But test it with maybe a pendulum or test the energy of it. And then once you spend that time and really, like honestly, with good intent, invite in the energy, the diva of that essential oil or that plant spirit into your fragrance oil, test the energy. Does it feel more energetic? Sometimes you don't have an option. It's okay.
That's a good point.
You can also, sometimes all you have is like the grocery store herbs.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily feel amazing, and vibrant and magical, but you can, there's ways to just kind of, I put that herb, that dried basil that looks so sad, that you shake out of the little can that you get from the back of the old shelf or whatever. And something that one of my mentors taught me is I knock on my hand 3 times and I whisper to basil and I invite the spirit of basil back in. And you can feel the energy just blossom in your hand.
Wow. And everything is energy, basically. And yeah, that's important. Now, I was really happy to read your Spells That Rhyme section. Yeah. Because all my spells, whether they're in my spell books, my Oracle deck, or my Spell of the Week on the website, They're all in rhyme. So what is it that compels us to do the rhymes?
Because we're really just big kids. We have our magical child within us, and our inner child is so magical and filled with belief. And when we start getting into that rhymey space where we were a poet and we didn't know it, and it pulls that inner child up, that magical child up, and place of belief up, and it helps us get out of the mundane and gets us out of that everyday life, and it gets us into that magical space. So it feels good, and sometimes it feels silly, and it feels straight up magical. I love the charm and the energy of a good rhyme, and how it comes together. And it also makes you think. It makes you really work harder for that, and it makes you put your intent together, because you have to say, okay, what rhymes with blue? What rhymes with sassafras? And
Nothing rhymes with orange. No.
Yeah, right. And then you go, okay, I can't end with that word. I got to flip the word. Does it change my meaning? But it gets you into the space.
Yes.
When I'm writing blessings or spells for the products here, I gotta get into this space. I gotta get in the right music going. I have to run around like a goofball over here. I have to go, I'm gonna go start rhyming, and and I start rhyming things, and then I get my rhyming dictionary out, and then I have a rhyming dictionary, and then I have a couple of sites that I go to for rhyming, and Wordle does not help me when they do that. My sisters and I do Wordle, and so we were thinking that rhyming would help, and it does not. Okay. But so I just get into that space, and so sometimes you have to just kind of flip what you're saying in different, thou shalt blah blah blah, and it just you get into that funny space, and then you get into and it gives you a rhythm. And Kat said rhymes are easier to remember. She said in the chat room for writing them down later, for passing them on an oral tradition. Yeah, it does help you remember them very much so, and it also makes you become succinct.
Yeah,
it limits your words. You're like, well, listen, I don't know any more words for that rhyme, so we're just gonna. And I'm tired of rhyming blue. So
yeah. I know, and the rhyming dictionary sometimes come in really, really handy because it's, but as you said, you'll get a word that you can't rhyme, and then you'll see it, but then you'll have to change the meaning, the sentence, just to make it work. I mean, sometimes, it takes an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours just to get it right. But it's worth it in the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And thesaurus. A thesaurus is one of the most magical things you can have when you're writing your blessing.
Yes. It's a science all by itself, this rhyming.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Jack and Jill was really easy, but not so much now. We talk about exercises in the book. I mean, you have a lot of exercises, like the one that you went to, to remind yourself. And there are lots of tarot readers listening in, and you talk about the magic of tarot and have an experiment about using it in the spell work, pulling a card from the deck and then holding it between your palms. I mean, I really like that. Would you explain that? Because I was smiling the whole time I read that.
I talk about tarot a couple of times, and I'm just trying to remember which one that is.
You were holding the card in the palm of your hand, and you could feel it.
Yeah, and feeling the energy of the card, and understanding what it wants to tell you, understanding the feeling of that. Actually, I do that a lot with the cards before I ever look at it. I mean, this comes from something I do for myself before I ever look at the card. I'll pull a card out of the deck, and I hold it, and I let the energy of it flow through me, and so I can understand what the reading is before my brain gets into what the imagery is. And that came from that, and I was just like, I can do a reading without ever looking at the card, and then I look at the card, and then the reading goes into another layer. So then, and when I'm doing magic with that energy is I can just like the sun candle, just pulling that energy of that. The sun card.
Mm-hmm.
Just pulling that energy of that card right into your spell, and just because it's living. I feel that the tarot is very living.
Mm-hmm.
I love. It's just you. If you pull that Three of Swords, you know what's up.
Mm-hmm.
You have. It has such a life force behind it, and there's a agreed upon definitions of these things. So they have, again, they are these energetic constructs,
Mm-hmm.
and so when you can pull that card into what you're doing, and just hang on to that, and then pull it in, that energy into your spell.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's actually a very easy way of doing it.
Yeah. So you just take it, close your eyes, and just feel it. And I mean, it was so simple, but I was like, oh wow, another one of those eye-opening things. This is what I could do. You could do it with tarot. You could do it with an oracle deck. I mean, any deck.
Mm-hmm.
But it helps. And then before you cast a spell, you go in front of your spirit allies and ancestors, and you ask for their permission and support for the magical work. Is that, some people might wonder if that's really a good key for making a successful spell. And, what are some of the other elements that are necessary to be successful?
When in doubt, when when you're going to do the big spell, like I'm going to make the thing happen.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if there's other people involved,
Mm-hmm.
Or you feel a little vengeful. It is a good idea to check in. It's a good idea to check in. To find out if this is a good idea. There's also the big spell that you're going to do, that you might decide to do for a big happening that you want to have in your life. Like, let's say you want to get a house or get a job. Make sure that all of the pieces are going to send you in the right direction. All the, as I say, all the oars are in the water rowing in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
I do check that, and there's a couple different ways to do that, and pendulums, coins, dice. When you're doing big work, check on your magic. It's just it's a fine idea to do this. If you're doing quick spells like in a quick candle, you're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're going to do some bigger work, I am one to check on my work, and when I get in front of my divine allies, when I get in front of my ancestors, and I say, hey, is this a good idea? And do you back me up? Will you help me with this? I have been told no.
Mm.
I absolutely have been told no, and I'm like, well, why? But I want it. I feel like the 5-year-old in the grocery store. But I want it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I get to ask. Then you get crafty. It's not like, well, why not? You say, is there something better for me? Is there something I'm missing? Is there something? So you ask some yes and no questions. Is there something missing from the spell, or is this something that would harm me, or a few things like that? And inevitably, there's something different, or a different perspective that I need to take, or a different direction. When I was looking to, and actually, if I'm hiring someone in a really important role in my business, I will ask,
Mm-hmm.
is this a good person? And sometimes I get no, and I go, well, but I want them, So, and so I'll ask, well, what's going on? And sometimes there's just somebody better coming through, or
Mm-hmm.
somebody different, or things like that. There's a better option. When I told you I'm about to move into a new house in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
This house was not the first house I put an offer in on. And the first house I put an offer in on, I knew I was going to get. It had everything I wanted, and I just felt perfect about it. And I put in the right offer, and I did all the right things, and I did the right magic, and I did the right spell. And then I went in front of my spiritual allies, and I said, am I going to get this house? And they said, no. And I said, but I want it. Why not? And the real estate agent I worked with, I said, when you can, I would love to find out why I didn't get this house, or like what it sold for.
Right.
I missed the house by $5,000.
Oh.
But it's okay, because the house I have now is literally the house I wanted.
Okay.
The other house I would not have been as happy as I'm going to be in this house, because the house I got that I'm about to move into is literally the house that I made my checklist from. You know how when you want something, you think, okay, you make your checklist. I want this and this and this and this. Right. Well, this house was my best friend's house. And I had spent time in this house, and I love this house. And I said, and so when I was envisioning the house that I wanted, a lot of it came from this house.
Okay.
And I did not know that he was going to get divorced and he was going to sell his house when I started looking for a house. So, but my divine allies, my ancestors did. So every time I went in front of them and I said, is this the house? I'm putting this offer in this house. And they said, nope. Why can't I get this house? Nope. Until I got this house, and they said, do your work. It's not going to be easy, but do your work. And so I did my work, and it wasn't easy. And there's compromises and things that were uncomfortable, but we did it.
So it ends well, right?
And not all magic is easy.
No. Well, it shouldn't be.
Yeah, it just because you cast a spell for it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Because the message on this one was, if you do your work, and my work wasn't just lighting my candles and doing other stuff. It was a lot of groundwork. I had to do a lot of other work too, and they said it's not going to be easy, but you have to work hard if you want this. I kind of had to give up a lot of other things so I could get what I wanted. And what's it saying? All you have to get what you want, all you have to do is give up everything you have.
That's true. And like you live happily ever after for the most part. Got to get another chat room question in. Is there a right way or a wrong way to light a candle?
I think the wrong way to light a candle is if it doesn't light. I really think that's the one wrong way to light a candle, if it doesn't light. I'm not sure how you could do it wrong. I know there's, again, I am, many people will disagree with me. I'm just not, I'm not going to be super dramatic about it. Sometimes I use a lighter. Sometimes I use a match. Sometimes I use the long ones that you get for lighting your grill. I light the candle with what I have at hand. And I light it while saying what I'm going to say. And sometimes I light it before I say what I'm going to say. Sometimes I light it after I say what. So it really, sometimes I'm like, here's the candle, I'm going to light it. I need you to do your job because I got some shit to do. So it's I'm a little more practical and a little less mystical on some of this. I also, I'm going to say something that might shock you.
Okay, good.
I blow my candles out. I just blow them out. I go and I blow them out.
So do I.
and it's shocking to some people that I actually just blow my candles out. I've been blowing my candles out for 30 years, and my magic still works. It is within your belief as to what is important to you. If the ritual of extinguishing the candle in a certain way and saying a certain thing is really important to you and is part of your spell, then it is part of your spell, and I want to validate you. If the way you light your candle is important to you, then you light that candle in a way that is important to you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let anyone tell you that you have to do it in a real specific way or invalidate the way that you do it.
And that's true, because you doing spells, doing any kind of magical work, you can't take what somebody tells you how to do it, because it's not going to work. It doesn't come from you. It's their intention, not your intention.
Any spell that you read in a book, including the Big Book of Candle Magic, because I do have some spells in here, and I would love for you to look at any spell that is given to you or any spell that you read in any book as an example.
Yeah.
As an inspiration of something that could be done. When you have you ever gone to one of those places where you paint a picture, like everyone is there painting a picture?
Mm-hmm.
You have a group of people and everyone's painting the cat.
Mm-hmm.
And the instructor is showing you how to paint the cat. But there are no two cats that look the same.
Yeah.
Some are awesome, and you go, how the heck did you get a cat that looks like that? And then some of them look like, a stick figure cat. And then some people just paint a bottle of wine.
Mm-hmm.
And,
there you go.
but that's the point, is the instructor is inspiring you. And they're saying, well, you could do this, and you could get this result, but everyone's stroke is going to be different. Everyone's hand is going to be different. And some people are saying, I don't want a tabby cat. I want a black cat.
Mm-hmm.
I want a white cat. I want a tiger stripe cat. And they're going to have different skill levels. They're going to have different things that they're going to do. So it is an idea of how this could go. And then the person next to you says, dude, you used up all the black paint. Now I got to make an orange cat. So it's okay, because you're going to use what you have, and your cat is no less valuable or validated than the other cat. So your spell is going to be what you need to have it be.
Yes. And be comfortable in doing it.
Yeah.
That's your own way. Yeah.
And here's how the universe works, in my opinion, is that what you need, it presents itself every time. Mm-hmm. And Tabby Cat, thank you for saying that I'm a great guest, because I talked about cats. You're welcome. Every time whatever I need presents itself, if I just kind of say to the universe, okay, what do I need to do with this? What I need presents itself in sometimes the craziest ways, and sometimes the most convenient ways. Mm-hmm. I really wish I had an amethyst for this, and all my amethysts are at home. And then somebody goes, I have an amethyst. I carry it in my purse. I'm like, no way you have an amethyst. Yeah. You don't even believe in crystals. I know, but somebody gave me one last week, and I never took it out of my purse. I mean, the weirdest things happen. I'm going
to have to tell us that we got to wind up, because we're just there. Oh. And you know what? Since each chapter of your book, and we really didn't even get close to everything at all. But since each chapter of the book could easily be a show on its own, maybe we'd like to have you come back and down the line and pick a chapter, and we'll talk about that one aspect of candle magic.
I would be so honored to come back anytime you want me, Marla.
Okay, great. Well, I'll wait until the big thing gets over and you can breathe again. But, we'll talk about that. Now, please really quickly give everybody your website information.
You can find me at CoventryCreations.com. You can also find me at AuntJacki.com. I have a new site, AuntJacki.com, which then takes you to CoventryCreations.com. And you can find me at those two places. Those are the easiest. And I'm on all the socials. You can look me up. Anything Coventry Creations, Coventry Candles. You can find us on all the socials in those regards.
Perfect. Thank you for being here tonight. Like I said, the book is amazing. And I want to also thank everybody listening in. And until next time, everybody, blessed be, and merry meet again. Good night.
This has been another edition of Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks.
Be sure to tune in next week at the same time for another great guest and more fun. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without permission is strictly prohibited. Copyright 2009.
You have been listening to the Para X Radio Network.